Have you ever wondered, what if USA and China finally waged a war against each other? Who would win? Well, if we go by numbers and not take into consideration the nuclear weapons and allies each side has, it's easy to see which country is more powerful and therefore has the bigger advantage. But before we look at these numbers, we have to look at the locations of the countries. It makes more sense that the war will be fought in the Pacific, which means a lot of battleships are needed, like destroyers, submarines and corvettes. In which case, China's military, the People's Liberation Army, has the biggest naval fleet in the world, with more than 355 vessels, while the US comes in second with 296 ships. But despite that, the US has 20 aircraft carriers to help support its naval fleet through its air force. China only has 3. And speaking of air fighters, the United States Air Force has the most units in the world, with a total of 5,209 active aircraft composed of fighter jets, bombers, helicopters, and other support planes. China has a total of 2,084, ranking 3rd in the world with the largest aircraft fleet. The US, being double the size, can definitely overpower Chinese fleet in the air. Now, from air fighting, we go on to land battles. Each country has the ability to transport their military land forces, and more are left as reserves. These include armored fighting vehicles, tanks, artillery, and carriers. China has over 186,000 military land vehicles, but it's only second to the United States, which has more than 313,000. It sounds like the Americans are gaining the upper hand, right? But just listen further. Weapons and ammunition are obviously an important part of this, and even more important, people, manpower. And this is where China could level the warfield. Because of its 1.4 billion population, it's not surprising that China's available military manpower is also huge, with over 760 million people. And so the United States estimate of 148 million military men and women seems tiny in comparison. None of these would work or even exist without the country's defense budget, which is so much money. You know, United States short manpower. Well, the country actually makes it up with over $761 billion in military funding. That's right, it's more than some countries' entire economy. And it definitely towers over China's $230 billion budget, which by itself is already a lot. Now, seeing all this data, it's a close fight, but it's looking like the United States could win the war. It's not really surprising, since the USA is ranked number 1 in the world in terms of military strength, followed by Russia, then China. Although, seeing what Russia is doing in Ukraine, they lost quite a lot of respect for their inefficiency. And this is probably why a lot of other countries seek USA's military aid to help protect their own. Now, just a disclaimer, Nightfall. I am not condoning war, especially as a person who just supported Ukrainian refugees a few weeks ago. What I showed you are just some numbers for us to know how much power these countries hold in terms of warfare. Because what I haven't told you is that there will be more numbers if these battles happen. Because really, the country's citizens will be the only true losers in any war ever.